Okay, I was going to do a quick demonstration of how to create a 3D scene in Arc Pro to create something basically like this. If you have been working through the assignment for raster surfaces, then you've already been working with the color schemes and learning how to customize these color ramps a little bit. So we're going to focus on the 3D aspect. When you open ArcGIS Pro, you have the options for the global and the local scenes. I typically work with the global one at this scale. I have plenty of these going. And it's going to start a new scene for us, which will look quite boring at first. Okay, because there's nothing in there. What I am going to throw in is one of our Mars DSMs. I've got this one here. It automatically adds it to the scene up here under a 2D layer. And what we want to do is use this as our elevation surface. But really quick first, I'm going to create a hillshade that I can work with. I could try using one of the raster functions, but I want to keep this, so I'm going to make a permanent copy of it. And for those of you who have seen my demonstration videos, you know that I would typically rename this the DTM, and then I would give the output raster the same name with the extension or with the tag HS for hillshade. But I'm going to demonstrate very poor data management right now and just leave it with the default name. Okay, and leave everything else the way it is. When this runs, it's going to add the hillshade to our 2D layer section. And then what we can do is just drag the original elevation model down into the elevation surfaces. Give it a second to catch up with us. Okay, so not much has changed. We're still looking at the hill shape, but that's okay. That's what we want. We can go down here, and these are some of the tools that allow us to navigate. So if I click on this inner ring, that's what gives me the ability to kind of tip it and angle it. And then I can zoom in a little bit. And let that raster redraw. There we go. So, you know, this blue ring or this middle ring here is the one that I use the most. Kind of lets you, experiment with getting the correct angle. You need to be a little bit careful with hillshades because we tend to see things lit from a certain direction. So if you start messing around with the way things are lit, sometimes features can look inverted. And a gully or a ravine can look like a ridge. So just be careful with the lighting to make sure that it's reading naturally. But it's that simple. Then you can go ahead and apply your color schemes. And I think in the example I showed you, I added a black fill in the layout. I think I put a black fill behind. There might even be a setting. Let me check that out really quick and I'll get back to you. Hang on. Okay, so you can set the background in the properties. So, for the scene. If you go into the scene and that's cut off, but I'm clicking on the properties. Under the general tab, this is the background color. I'm having a little bit of issue. For some reason, my hillshade has kind of a white block around it and I don't want to deal with that right now. But that's how you set the background color, and that's how I drew the background color in black for this image. But some other cool tools that you might want to know about are under the View tab when you're in Scene. Over here in the Scene section, there, if you click under, this one is called Post-Processing Effects. Maybe I should expand this a little bit so you guys can see just what these are called. So in the Scene section, there's Post-Processing Effects, which allows you to put a vignette on your scene if you felt so inclined. The camera effect is really neat. It gives you depth of field, and what that means is, let's see here if I can pan a little bit and then go into the effect settings. So basically the focus distance is something you can set yourself, or if you click on this little button here, you can say, I want it to be focused right here. And I don't know if you could see that crisp up, but the focus depth is the band over which the focus is going to occur, and then it's going to blur as we move away from this band. We could try making that a little bit bigger. Put it maybe 1500 meters. Click right up front. And then the maximum blur, so now it's really blurring out the background. What I don't like about this very much is that it's not very gradual, and you could kind of mess around with this, keep messing around with it, but I don't think that works very well. When I'm working with stuff like this, I tend to bring it into Photoshop or something like that. But this is a great way to get started anyway. So some fun effects in here, camera effects, watercolor effects. I just appreciate that Arc Pro is trying to integrate some of these other visualization tools. But for what it's worth, there you go. That's 3D scenes in ArcGIS Pro.